I'm going to try to incorporate the Biden live press conference for this. Let me know if you hear me okay. This was kind of like a rush, not kind of, it was a rush job when I heard it was 11 o'clock for his press conference. And I did not think I would get it in time, but I did. So hopefully the audio works when I go live. You guys can let me know if you can hear me okay. Because I don't have my normal microphone, but it should be okay. I'm watching the chat now, so just let me know if any issues, and I will put out a link for you guys to join with any questions and comments over the past about what's been going on the past 2 weeks, which has been interesting. Good for the subject, I think. As far as what's going to happen today, I won't expect too much, but curious to see what he has to say. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm live on YouTube. I am. And I sound okay. So, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, I'm glad you guys can hear it. What's up, Adam? I'm half asleep, only because I didn't sleep last night, because I don't sleep anymore because of everything that's been going on. It's been fun. I'm not thinking we're close to disclosure, but a lot of people are talking about this that are normally not talking about it. It's amazing. I see sports sites talking about this. And I don't think the 3 objects that were shot down were alien craft. I think those are prosaic. Maybe some technology we don't understand, but I don't think they were alien craft. But I don't know. They haven't said anything about it. Well, our government hasn't. So supposedly there was a Canadian report that Mike Colangelo put up, and they said that they heard from the Pentagon and the White House that it was a commercial object. So maybe something being held up by helium. The pilots allegedly could not tell what it was. They couldn't tell how, what kind of propulsion system it was. So I'm just going to go through your comments. We started with fibers. Yeah, oh, shoot. It already started. I had it paused. But we'll be behind, right? No, I'm still not caught up. You guys see it somewhere else and I'm behind, let me know. I think I'm caught up now, but it's possible I'm not. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? It's 11:06. It's possible that I missed this because I don't see anything. No, it's still not on. So, hey, Chris, let me put out the link if you guys want to join in with comments. It's been a while since I've done this, so I just need to find invite. It is. I think the last time I was live was early November, and I was doing Bankston interview with Dean Radin, and then I went to the East Coast to see Eric Davis and Jay Stratton and my friend Michael Vai, and visit with some other friends. And there's the link. Hey, Brian. Hi, everybody. And then I went home because my dad was sick, and then my dad passed away. So I've been slow in getting back to normal. Thank you for all the messages related to my dad. I know Ross talked about how somebody from the Navy went and spilled the beans on the. Jeff is talking about they supposedly spilled the beans according to Ross, and then Chris Sharp said he had the same information about the Navy going to the White House. I think it was a Navy commander saying that the Air Force is really obfuscating information and doing stuff illegal by keeping this information from us. And yeah, that I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I don't have anything on my own, but I don't think that's gonna, implore Biden to go out live today and say, you know what, I heard that the Air Force is keeping this information about UFOs. We have crashes, we have retrievals. I don't think that's gonna come out with Biden. I don't think you're gonna hear much more about that right now. But if that really happened, that's a good thing. The fact that the White House has their own task force is a good thing to me, even though Rubio was not happy about it. He's like, well, we created Arrow, so why are they doing their own? Well, maybe they don't trust the people connected to Arrow or the DOD, and they want to do their own thing. Other people said, well, it's just that they want to control the narrative. The White House wants to do their own task force. They control everything. Maybe. But for me, the more, the better. I just don't think we're on the cusp of major disclosure. And I don't think Biden's going to talk about aliens. He's going to talk about flight safety, national security, and things like that. I just need to just get one thing. Hey, John. And I did use a clickbait title. Biden going to talk about shooting down UFOs. Well, it's accurate, but I don't think they're the alien UFOs. But there's so many videos of different senators and congressmen speaking that, we don't know what it is. But I totally lean prosaic. Balloon. I mean, it could be it could be balloons, Chris. I mean, we haven't seen anything. We haven't heard anything as far as, amazing propulsion maneuvers, anything like that. But even if it turns out, and Biden's supposed to speak at 11 Pacific, 2 p.m., and he's delayed. As I've joked on Twitter, Biden is delayed because he's deciding whether or not to talk about abductions and the Greys and the reptilians. And I was obviously, I thought I was being sarcastic in an obvious manner. Apparently not, because people believed me and got mad at me. But I was joking. I did it again today, but I made sure to make sure doubly that I was joking. I think it'll be short. It would be nice if he took questions. I don't think he will, though. So we'll see. It's delayed. I can't wait to hear. We can't recover the craft. There is no debris from these objects. They were balloons. Don't question it. It might be possible that they can't recover it because of where the objects went down. That's possible. So I don't want to get all conspiratorial just because that's a possibility. They waited to those objects or took them down when they were over areas where there weren't people and there was a lot less danger of anybody getting hurt. So, I can't blame them. I can't blame them for that. But at the very least, it's getting people to talk about this subject. And of course, I was worried the other day. I'm like, why are they continually talking about objects from foreign adversaries when we don't care about that? I mean, we do care about that, but that's not why we're here. We already know that's happening. Here's Biden.
Good afternoon. Last week, in the immediate aftermath of the incursion by China's high-altitude balloon, our military, through the North American Aerospace Defense Command, so-called NORAD, closely scrutinized our airspace, including enhancing our radar to pick up more slow-moving objects above our country, around the world. In doing so, they tracked 3 unidentified objects, one in Alaska, Canada, and over Lake Huron in the Midwest. They acted in accordance with established parameters for determining how to deal with unidentified aerial objects in U.S. airspace. At their recommendation, I gave the order to take down these 3 objects due to hazards to civilian commercial air traffic and because we could not rule out the surveillance risk of sensitive facilities. We acted in consultation with the Canadian government. I spoke personally with Prime Minister Trudeau and from Canada on Saturday. And just as critically, we acted out of an abundance of caution and an opportunity that allowed us to take down these objects safely. Our military and the Canadian military are seeking to recover the debris so we can learn more about these 3 objects. Our intelligence community is still assessing all 3 incidences. They're reporting to me daily and will continue their urgent efforts to do so, and I will communicate that to the Congress. We don't yet know exactly what these 3 objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country. The intelligence community's current assessment is that these three objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation, or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research. When I came into office, I instructed our intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. We know that a range of entities, including countries, companies, and research organizations, operate objects at altitudes for purposes that are not nefarious, including legitimate scientific research. I want to be clear. We don't have any evidence that there has been a sudden increase in the number of objects in the sky. We're now just seeing more of them, partially because the steps we've taken to increase our radars, to narrow our radars. And we have to keep adapting our approach to dealing with these challenges. That's why I've directed my team to come back to me with sharper rules for how we will deal with these unidentified objects moving forward, distinguishing between those that are likely to pose safety and security risks that necessitate action and those that do not. But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down. I'll be sharing with Congress these classified policy parameters when they're completed, and they'll remain classified so we don't give our roadmap to our enemies to try to evade our defenses. Going forward, these parameters will guide what actions we'll take while responding to unmanned and unidentified aerial objects. We're going to keep adapting them as the challenges evolve, if it evolves. In addition, I've directed my national security advisor to lead a government-wide effort to make sure we are positioned to deal safely and effectively with the objects in our airspace. First, we will establish a better inventory of unmanned airborne objects in space above the United States airspace and make sure that inventory is accessible and up to date. Second, we'll implement further measures to improve our capacity to detect unmanned objects in our airspace. Third, we'll update the rules and regulations for launching and maintaining unmanned objects in the skies above the United States of America. And fourth, my Secretary of State will lead an effort to help establish common global norms in this largely unregulated space. These steps will lead to safer and more secure skies for our air travelers, our military, our scientists, and for people on the ground as well. That's my job as your President, Commander-in-Chief. As the events of the previous days have shown, we'll always act to protect the interest of the American people and the security of the American people. Since I came to office, we've developed the ability to identify, track, and study high-altitude surveillance balloons connected with the Chinese military. When one of these high-altitude surveillance balloons entered our airspace over the continental United States earlier in the month, I gave the order to shoot it down as soon as it would be safe to do so. The military advised against shooting it down over land because of the sheer size of it. It was the size of multiple school buses and it posed a risk to people on the ground if it was shot down where people lived. Instead, we tracked it closely, we analyzed its capabilities, and we learned more about how it operates. And because we knew its path, we were able to protect sensitive sites against collection. We waited until it was safely over water, which would not only protect civilians, but also enable us to recover substantial components for further analytics. And then we shot it down, sending a clear message. The violation of our sovereignty is unacceptable. We'll act to protect our country, and we did. Now, this past Friday, we put restrictions on 6 firms that directly support the People's Republic Liberation Army, the People's Liberation Army Aerospace Program that includes airships and balloons, denying them access to U.S. technology. We briefed our diplomatic partners and our allies around the world, and we know about China's program and where their balloons had flown. Some of them have also raised their concerns directly with China. Our exports have lifted components of the Chinese balloon's payload off the ocean floor. We're analyzing them as I speak, and what we learn will strengthen our capabilities. Now, we'll also continue to engage with China, as we have throughout the past 2 weeks. As I've said since the beginning of my administration, we seek competition, not conflict with China. We're not looking for a new Cold War. But I make no apologies. I make no apologies, and we will compete, and we'll responsibly manage that competition so that it doesn't veer into conflict. This episode underscores the importance of maintaining open lines of communication between our diplomats and our military professionals. Our diplomats will be engaging further, and I will remain in communication with President Xi. I'm grateful for the work of the last several weeks of our intelligence, diplomatic, and military professionals who have proved once again to be the most capable in the world. And I want to thank you all. Now, look, the other thing I want to point out is that we are going to keep our allies and the Congress contemporaneously informed of all we know and all we learn. And I expect to be speaking with President Xi, and I hope we are going to get to the bottom of this. But I make no apologies for taking down that balloon. Thank you very much.
Why have you chosen Poland for your team? And what message do you want to send?
There's been criticism that this is trying to compromise by your family's business relations.
Sir, Mr. President, there is
Give me a break, man.
Did you overreact?
Mr. President, there's been criticism that this was an overreaction that was done because of political pressure.
You can come to my office and ask the question. We have more polite people.
Mr. President, why have you chosen Poland for your trip to mark anniversary of the war? And what's your message? What?
When are you speaking to President Xi, Mr. President?
There you go. What was that at the end? Should I answer that question? Yeah, it was not anything totally expected. Guys, please feel free to jump in on audio or video. I put the link out a couple of times. Yeah, there's nothing there. Nothing that really, there's nothing that stood out that's of interest to us as far as in the UFO world. But I didn't expect anything. I thought maybe he might do the old, what the press secretary, when she said, there's no evidence of extraterrestrials. And then we had the other guy, the general, saying, well, I haven't ruled it out. And then we keep seeing, I don't even know why they're bringing it up. It was nice to see the general of NORAD, I forget his name, Von something. He was saying, oh, I'm frozen. Great. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay, because I don't care if I'm frozen. Let's see. Sound is okay. All right. If you guys have any questions about anything, it doesn't have to be about balloons. Feel free to ask. At least I didn't freeze on a bad freeze. But yeah, feel free to ask anything in the chat or anything. You can jump in, although I don't know if jumping in is even going to work right now, because since I'm frozen, everybody might be frozen. I could, let's see, I can remove myself. Still audio. Okay. If you guys don't have questions, then I'll end this. And you can ask questions on the chat. General Van Herk, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I do have insight into what he might be up to, but I can't say. But you guys will know about it soon enough, and I know it'll be controversial with some people. His interview was great. I'm gonna transcribe it eventually. I'm still trying to finish the Guts, John Gutierrez, Naval Commander transcript, which was long. And I'll get to Jay Stratton, who's also speaking at Alien Con in March. I'm hopefully going to go. Jay Stratton is great. It's hard to take shots at him and his credibility like people have done with other folks who have come public. But Jay Stratton hasn't spoken yet about what happened to him on Skinwalker Ranch, and he hasn't spoken to what happened to his family. But I've already seen people taking shots at him. Of course, that stigma is still a massive problem. Hi, Alien Girl. Hi, everybody, and also thank you for the wishes about my dad. Yeah. No, him being at Alien Con is not the controversial part, and I can't talk about it because he said I can't talk about it. It's not some blockbuster news, but it'll give us more Jay Stratton. I'll just say that. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody. Yeah, feel free to jump in, Alien Girl. The problem is I'm frozen, so people jumping in may be frozen too, but you can try. I put the link out. I'll put it out one more time. My Twitter has exploded because with new followers, I think because of the balloon story. Because the balloon, anytime I tweet anything related to balloons / whatever those objects were, I say balloon because it's easier. That's when they get the most action, most activity, and I see activity like I have not seen before. And the problem is, if nothing new happens, those people are gonna say, "Oh, nothing really new." They'll lose interest. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if anything more is going to come of what we've seen from the past 2 weeks, as far as now the filters are down on the radar and we're going to pick up more objects. Allegedly, some of those objects will be some of the objects making maneuvers that we don't understand, which was part of the ODNI report. Hopefully, and we get to hear more about that, and we have more people come out of the shadows. Jay Stratton speaking publicly is fantastic because he's so credible. It's like I said, it's really difficult, even for the biggest skeptics, to take him down, but they will once he starts sharing his complete story of what happened to him. And if you don't know what happened to him, he is Axelrod in the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, which is one of my favorite books of all time, talking about the OSAP program and how it began. Yeah, the president did go through pretty quick, but they said his day was busy. He had some doctor's appointment, so I didn't really expect much. And I know people were like, what is he going to reveal? And I'm like, he's not going to reveal anything. If, there's a part in Jacques Vallée's book, his new Forbidden Signs, Volume 5, where he talks about, I think it was 2005, where Hal Puthoff went to a panel with, it was a semi-official panel with like 60 folks representing various, I don't remember exactly where they were from. He didn't say, but they were discussing government policy and disclosure. And basically before the meeting, they were all open to the possibilities of disclosure. And afterwards, they all said no. So it's like, that tells you that's the mentality. Has it changed in 18 years? I don't think so. I still think they would like to avoid disclosure because A, they don't know what it is, or B, they know some of what it is, and it's not good, and people will not be able to handle it. And we talk about John Harrington, who was briefed. You hear the story Bryce Zabel speaks about, where his partner in the show Dark Skies, Brent Friedman, spoke when he was 18 years old. He drove John Harrington, who was secretary of, I forget exactly what his title was. He was related to the Department of Energy, credible guy. And Friedman said that Harrington said he was briefed about UFOs underground for 6 weeks, and every night he went and cried himself to sleep. And then we hear about President Carter crying during his briefing. So what are they being told that's making them cry? So that may be part of the reason. Oh, Amy's there. Let's see if that may be part of the reason.
Hi,
Amy,
1 second.
You're not frozen. I am frozen. Thanks for coming on.
You
so I don't have to talk.
are. 1 second. 1 second.
Actually, the truth is, I am not frozen. I'm not moving.
You're not moving. You're a frozen man.
I'm kidding.
Oh,
So
I'm
what do
just
you-
glad you did StreamYard, man. I need to do a stream.
Yeah, that's my first
Yeah,
one.
I'm
in a
sorry to
long
hear
time.
about your dad, man. I'm sorry
Yeah,
to hear
thanks.
about your dad. I just lost my brother, so
Well, really, I'm sorry to hear that.
it's so bad.
Just
but
sorry.
UFOs help me forget about everything. That's one reason I'm into it.
Yeah,
So
same
I was
here.
like, yes, you have an open StreamYard link. I was like, I'm jumping on. Plus, I haven't heard anything about what's going on with the Biden stuff.
Did you see it at all?
So, no, I've been a wreck. That's why I'm like, I'm just gonna go hang out with the UFO show right now.
I'll just
'Cause I
summarize
like,
it.
Yeah.
It was boring. So basically, he's just saying there's surveillance over sensitive sites. We're We're trying to recover the stuff we shot down. Don't know what they were. We don't think they were from a foreign adversary, but we do think they're from private companies and scientific research, which Jessica Axelrod, who's Axelrod, she was talking about that. She did some research into that. No evidence of a sudden increase in activity of these objects being seen. It was only because the radar, they believe the radar was adjusted, and that's why we're seeing it more. And if any object presents a threat, we'll take it down. And he kept saying unmanned, unmanned, unmanned. It's just, obviously they're not taking down manned craft.
Right.
And we're talking about unmanned, quote, maybe not human. That's what we want to hear. But he's not even going anywhere near there. That's basically what he said. We'll take down more objects if they come in our airspace, and they don't apologize for taking down the Chinese balloon. So
there's a lot of weird stuff, a lot of weird talking right now. A lot of this, it's amazing. When UFOs actually hit the mainstream, it becomes incredibly scary, right? Like, I love having fun with it and being like, yeah, let's talk to the aliens. But this was a lot, right? And what's interestingly enough, all of like my starseed alien friends, it's starseed. I didn't mean to put quotes, guys. I love you. I'm a starseed as well. But even like Elena Denon and a lot of these other UFO people, right? Like the ones in active communication with extraterrestrials. Like there's Sandia, the ET, Sue Walker. She's in active communication with extraterrestrials in the Sandia Mountains. So her and also Elena Denon and all of these other people who are talking about being in connection with extraterrestrials are also discussing the fact that these were human craft, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people jump to the conclusion right away, and they don't want to hear any other they don't want to hear any other option except these are non-human craft. And I was like, I have not seen any evidence of that. I don't interact a lot with people who claim to have interactions with extraterrestrials. I know I have friends like that. Not a lot, but I'm definitely on the more conservative side. But I do talk about stuff like reincarnation and a soul trap and if we're in a simulation, and people get on my case about that, and they say, you believe a lot of that stuff. I don't believe any of that stuff. I'm interested. It might be true. I don't go very far as beliefs, but I do believe something non-human, something anomalous is interacting with us. No doubt in my mind. As far as all the other stuff, I don't know. I take it on a case-by-case basis.
And that's what's hard. It's been really hard few days in terms of UFOs because I hate it. I know so much. I'm not being egotistical when I say that. I do. I know a lot about what's going on in ufology. And when this stuff comes out, man, it's just like there's the wacky alien person. And it's like, I don't know, guys. The government just psyoped you pretty hardcore, either to distract you from the Ohio explosion, right? Like there's just, I don't know, man. The world's whack, Joe.
And during the Rubio press conference the other day, there was a reporter that said, "Why have you ruled out the extraterrestrial possibilities?" And there were two female reporters on the end that just started smiling, and you could see the stigma is there. It's still alive and well. But I'm just going to go through some questions. Why didn't any psychics predict the balloon events? I have no idea. It was an embarrassment. Speaking of Biden. Das Smith, who's an amazing remote viewer, does news headline predictions. Das Smith is amazing. He's one of the newer remote viewers. What do your sources say is going on inside the Air Force right now? I don't have anything, but I will reach out soon to people and just see what their take is. Nobody has reached out to me, so I need to do that. It's a shame. In light of these recent objects, the media hasn't asked questions about the more anomalous cases. That's a general lack of education on the subject in the mainstream media, sadly. This is my biggest issue. If you saw during the press conference with Kirby, the Pentagon guy, it's like, and they brought him to the White House. None of the reporters asked anything UFO related. There was like two questions about UAP, two reporters. I don't know who they were. I was like, thank God somebody asked, but overall, they're afraid to ask. I think they're afraid to ask, or they're ignorant. They just don't know about the subject. And it's frustrating. At this point in time, you would think they would say, Why are we going back to 1945? Can you answer questions about that? Can you answer, Roswell? Can you at least ask the question? But most of them do not. So
There's
yes,
just some weird stuff going on, man. Like, why do they want everything in the UAP report? Why do they want everything from 1945 onward, right?
they were briefed, no doubt. When Eric Davis came to Capitol Hill, they were briefed on crash retrievals. As far as 1945, I know I assume they've been told about Trinity and the alleged crash that happened there. I don't know about Trinity. I mean, I've listened to a lot of Jacques Vallée interviews. I've spoken to somebody privately who said so-and-so believes that Trinity is not a crash retrieval. So I don't know, but that's why they went back there. And Sean Kirkpatrick, who is the head of Aero, he is, without saying specifics, he is doing what he's supposed to be doing right now. As far as crash retrievals, the big issue, I have no doubt they found those programs. The question is, did they get access to it? And all the people I speak to say no, they have not gotten access. But then there are other people say privately, like, well, yeah, they've gotten access. So I don't know. I don't know about that. Would be the holy grail. We wouldn't have to argue an object. Oh, there's an object that was shot down. We can't see it. We don't know what it is. If we have stuff and people like Rubio and Warner, they're able to go in and look at it, that debate would be over. But there are people who are so skeptical, who I respect highly. They're so skeptical that secret could be kept. I think it could be kept. But I don't know. I don't know for sure until we see it for ourselves.
Elon said some weird stuff in the last 24 hours. He was talking, I don't know, at something. And he said, if anybody knows that aliens exist, I would know, right? Because I've been all over.
I remember that.
And I've tried to know everything about space. And then he said something that was interesting, which is like, if it is true that we're alone and consciousness is only this unique thing on planet Earth, it's kind of sad, right? And that's an interesting thing, right? Isn't that interesting? It's interesting to me, And who said that? Was it why can't I think about? Oh, come on, he's the space guy, Captain Kirk, when he went up to space, right? With
William
Jeff
Shatner.
Bezos. William Shatner. He said that when he came back down from space, he was a little freaked out because he realized just how much nothingness was out there. How much, how void it is out there.
Yeah, and I forget who the person was.
It's fascinating.
The person said, who was it who said, either we're not alone and somebody else is here, or we are alone, and both of them are just as scary. Both thoughts are just as scary.
I think that was Carl Sagan. I'll Google it real quick.
Okay. Let's see some more. Weird that they would shoot down something without identifying and being sure that what it was or how to retrieve. I mean, I think they felt, according to them, they felt it was a threat to commercial airline traffic at that altitude. So that's why they did it. There must be FLIR footage of those takedowns. There must be. But their excuse is going to be sources and methods. We can't show you the FLIR. We can rule out ET alien, but simultaneously, yeah, that's what they've said. But simultaneously, they'll say, we don't know what they are. Exactly. It's like, how could you rule that out? I mean, it was Kirsten Gillibrand, who I love what she's done. She's like, well, we don't know what they were, but the military knows they're not a threat. How could you say that? You don't even know what it is. I don't know why you would say that.
Right. So let's take out the ET component. And I looked it up. And here's what's fun about me, right? I was wrong, Joe. And I'm okay with it.
What did you say?
Arthur C. Clarke said that, not Carl Sagan.
Okay.
So I don't know. And I think that's important too. Like, people are so afraid to be wrong, right? Instead of just taking a look back at all the theories. But let's take out the alien thing. I've been talking to some people, and what if they're putting these EMPs on balloons and floating them over the country? Maybe that's, you know what I mean? There's just so many.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be ready for all possibilities, the human side, like you said. I mean, we still don't know who carried out Havana syndrome, whether or not it was a foreign adversary, or the one thing I speak about is a non-government organization, would be somebody who's not even connected to any government. I don't know who that would be. I think DeLong wrote about it in his fiction/truth books. That's controversial. Just like my labs is controversial. My opinion on my labs, I don't know. I mean, I interviewed Melinda Leslie back in I think it was 98, 99. She was like one of the first people. And she started talking about my labs. And I'm like, and I was just getting into UFOs. I'm like, so I was like, military abduction. Yeah. But I didn't really think too much of it at the time. And I thought she was credible. But then there were people like, there's too much infrastructure would have to be there for that to be taking place. But I don't know.
I gotta zip out, Joe. I got a phone call. I gotta go. But thank you so much for letting me jump on. You're awesome, welcome. Dude. Have a good, beautiful day. This has been an awesome combo.
Thanks again. Bye. All right, I'll just go through your questions. So my labs, thing that makes me think my labs may be real on some level is what's her name? I forget. I'm gonna have a. She wrote Carla Turner spoke about a phone call she had where somebody zipped in and said, she was talking and they zipped in. She said it was like a zipping sound, and the person on the other end, it was a gentleman who said, we know, because she was like, we don't know what we're dealing with. We don't know who they are. And the person jumped into the phone conversation as if they were tapping her phone and the conversation she was having. And they said, we know exactly who they are. We know exactly where they come from. We know how many there are. So, why are they monitoring her phone calls? Is that connected to my labs? I don't know. I don't totally rule it out. Yeah, how is X ruled out? What set of criteria? In order to rule out X, you do need to have a well-defined idea of what X is. It's a great point. I don't know how they rule out anything at this point. Even if it's not traveling and at a high speed, who's to say what an alien, quote unquote, would even look like, or how their craft or a Van Neumann crafts probe would look like? We don't know. I mean, I assume it's prosaic. I just don't know how you can rule out anything at this point unless they know more that they're not saying, but it doesn't seem like it when these senators are coming out of their briefings. Unmanned, so no one died. Yeah, that would be a disaster if they shot something down and that was manned. I'm assuming their FLIR can see heat signatures inside of the craft and they saw nothing. Again, if you guys want to join, I put that up there. Situation and geospace awareness has been a little lazy, it seems. How did they not know China has a near-Earth spy program? They probably did. I mean, I'm highly skeptical that they didn't know about that. And they probably knew about the China balloon, but it's happened so much time. And the only reason we heard about it is that person over Montana told the media about it. I don't think if they didn't do that, we would have heard about this, and none of this would have happened. So I think this is like a backwards way to getting more light shined on the UFO issue. But I don't think there's going to be a breakthrough publicly anytime soon. Hopefully stuff is going on behind the scenes like we've heard, and stuff will continue to happen. But I don't think any breakthrough is going to come next week with the UAP that we're really interested in, the ones that are instantaneous acceleration, making 90-degree turns. We still don't have any of that evidence in the public realm. So it's kind of hard to argue when people like Eric Weinstein say, yeah, we don't have any of that. So, I mean, I agree, we don't. So are we sure that crash retrieval programs do exist? It seems to me that by now somebody would have said something. And that's one of the people I spoke with privately. That's exactly what he said. Really smart guy. You would know who this person is. He's like, no, I don't believe it. I think the secret would be out. And I said, it depends on what they're telling these people. If they're telling them, listen, if this secret ever gets out, the world is going to come down and it's going to come crashing down. Number one. Number two, you're going to jail. You're going to prison if you ever talk about this. One of the people I spoke with who's mentioned in the Wilson Davis notes, I called him. I got his phone number from somebody, and I just gave a cold call. And one of the biggest arguments he had was against this being public. And he didn't admit that Wilson Davis was legit, which we haven't even gone live since Valet put out his book. That's another thing we could talk about. Maybe not today. But so he was like so worried about if the secret was out, what it would do for society, what it would do for religion. So I think that might be used to help keep the secret, telling these people who work in these programs. Do I know 100% that there's a crash retrieval program and other related programs, biology, bodies? No, I don't know. I've spoken to enough people that I believe there are programs, but to know for sure, 100%, we need to see it for ourselves. Or have somebody we respect say, listen, I went there today. There was a craft. We heard about, finally, I heard this information before. I couldn't share it until now because Valet finally shared it in his book, Forbidden Science, Volume 5. that General Jack Sheehan actually touched the craft in 1970. I think it's 77. There was an audit that took place. They found the crash retrieval program, and this guy was allowed in. Sheehan was allowed in, and he put his hand on the craft. Supposedly that's the intact craft, but that's a story, you know. We don't have it. We don't have proof that happened. So we need somebody modern day to go in and let us know. Somebody we respect. Multiple senators from both sides of the aisle. And then I would love, obviously, we need to see it for ourselves. Video, pictures, a live feed, something to prove it 100%. If they can't even recover a balloon, how are they going to recover a UFO? I think if there really are UFO recovery teams, they're top notch, the best of the best. But yeah, I mean, if something is shot down over an area where you can't get access to, or it's difficult to access, it'll be difficult no matter what it is. Have I heard anything? I haven't heard anything about Tim Taylor. He's been very quiet. Diana Pasulko does not talk about him. Tim Taylor being Elon Musk's Space Force handler, and also him working for SpaceX. I do not know. I think I have heard a couple of years ago that Tim Taylor had gotten read into something, but I don't know what it was. It was very vague what I heard. Space Force. It's probably true under common circumstances that if anyone would know about that, he would, but there might be a smart reason for him not knowing. Cheryl, who's he? Just remind me who he is, because I don't know exactly what I'm way behind here. I will catch up. Hold on. Alan Girl, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. We got somebody else, so I'm going to miss questions. I'm going to add. Josh.
Yo, Joe. How's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, I messaged you before a while ago. I used to actually be an entertainer in Vegas. Now I've since moved out of there. But if I was still in town, I'd be getting you tickets to the show and inviting you to hang out and stuff. But
what show did you do?
So back in the day, do you remember when the Second City was in town?
What year was it?
Oh, dude, this would have been like 2005.
I got here in 2009. So no.
Okay. I ended up getting hired by Cirque du Soleil. Oddly, I was one of the few people hired to like leave Vegas and go work for Cirque du Soleil as opposed to
interesting.
Yeah, so I went and helped write a show and then toured with them and stuff. But something that I've been thinking about lately, like, so, you know, obviously, like a lot of people, this has always been something I've been interested, like, you know, since childhood and stuff. But really, the big New York Times article kind of, you know, pushed me over to reading about stuff and learning about stuff. And something that I've always been looking for online that I think you would be, you know, the guy to do it, is like some kind of website that has like those tentpole moments in ufology, like Betty and Barney Hill, Roswell, you know, the New York Times, like some of these really big moments that, especially right now, while so many people, like you said, you're getting a ton of new followers right now. So many people are scrambling to want to learn about ufology and stuff. And it's just, I feel like, you know, now that I've been reading and consuming all this stuff for years, I feel like I'm in the know, but I realize like the barrier to entry is so high that I feel like if somebody kind of made like a Cliff's Notes version for people, I think that it would get a lot of traction. I think you'd get a lot of hits and stuff. It's
something I've thought about. And there is a book that's really good that Richard Dolan did, UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. It's just exactly what you're talking about. Cliff Notes for the entire phenomenon. And it's for me, it's like, I'll wake up, all right, I need to work on this transcript. And then I go on Twitter. And next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock at night. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. It's like, oh, it's so addicting. But I like it. I mean, it's a way to get information out. But yeah, I mean, that is a really good idea. And I have to think about doing that and take time. I have so many transcripts that I've finished 80% that I need to finish. So it's like finding the time. I would like to be on a planet with a 48-hour day. That would help.
Yeah, but I was just thinking it's one of those things where it would actually I think it gets you tons of hits, you know what I mean? Like, and it'd be right. People love being able to share stuff, and you know the way blogs are set up, like it'd be easy for, you know, if someone starts talking about Roswell, oh, just send them the link to the Roswell chapter, and
Right.
like all. I don't know. I think it'd be cool, or so, or, it'd be neat if someone or if everyone kind of came together and put this together. But it's just something where I'm just not knowledgeable enough. But
No,
yeah,
that's a great idea. Well, I appreciate that. What do you think? Did you see the press conference?
yeah, I've been tuned in since you went live. Yeah, I mean, it was what all of us would have imagined it would be. I don't.
Yeah.
There was nothing shocking or surprising, and I don't think we're there yet. But I do think it's. I don't know. I look at this, being in entertainment. I always take a step back and look at this like, if I were setting the stage for something, and I think like I was talking to my wife about it. I said, well, she said, why do you think all this is ramping up in general? And I said, well, it's because in the past, it was always the military had the tech and military had the money and the government did. But now, Joe Schmo can put a satellite up into space. And so there's so much private industry. I said they've got to be seeing things. And so I kind of think that in a big way, the government kind of went, okay, everyone if you can all just hold on a sec, we're going to roll this out to everyone. But, please, because Google Earth has got to have stuff on their satellites and stuff,
I have not yet. And I know people have pulled up stuff. I have not seen anything that makes me go, wow. And that's the argument from skeptics. And I do understand that. They're like, well, where is it? The military supposedly has this amazing, footage. And I've heard that privately too. But it's like publicly, we don't really have anything. When people say, what's the best UFO footage? Can you show me something? I'm like, I have to scramble to think of something that's really, really good. I mean, I think the craft that was over Nellis Air Force Base, that's an interesting video, but people is like, no, it's prosaic. You're looking at it wrong. So we don't have that smoking gun. And it's been, how long do we wait? It's like, I mean, I'll be in this till I die, but there are people who get tired of not seeing that evidence and they just become debunkers, skeptics, or they just lose interest.
Well, I look at the evidence as look at everything the government's putting into place. Like now we have NASA with a team. So the scientists are ready to talk at a press conference because we're going to have an official group that is well respected. And when every American, well, heck, when every citizen of the world thinks of space, they think of NASA. And,
Right.
We have the United States government now has a public office, which is dealing with like all the pieces are being put into place for what I think will eventually be a big reveal of like, okay, we're not alone, folks. And here's the team who's going to talk you through it. And they're boiling the frog, It's to the point where my family thought I was nuts to where now even my family's like, oh yeah, when you think about it, there's no way we're the only ones out there. And yeah, it would make sense. And, they've just slowly turned up the temperature and now they have all the departments in place. And I think, in a couple years time, which will feel like an eternity to us, but in the grand scheme of things is pretty short. I think we'll start to learn, we were pulling things out of archaeological digs and there was a crash and we really don't have anything figured out yet, but we can safely say we are not alone,
Yeah, I hope I'm alive for that day. I mean, I understand people get excited because stuff happens like this whole week. Some of the comments from some of the congressmen and senators are like, oh my God, is going to be an announcement. Then I'm like, it's not going to happen because I do think it will happen. I just don't think it's going to happen right now. I don't think the masses can handle it, to be honest. And people get mad at me for that. I'm not saying I don't want the information out. I want the Band-Aid off. Me personally, tell us everything. I can handle it. I mean, I talk about some of the most outrageous stuff that a lot of people think is nonsense, but the majority can't even handle the basics. So I
would challenge you that on that one, Joe. Because I mean, take a look at like during COVID, there was a lot of talk of we're putting together this department, and they've literally are admitting there are things in the skies we don't know, and no one gave a shit.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it being. I don't see the evidence. If we have the clear evidence, which we don't have, I would like to see people react to that. Maybe they will blow it off. Maybe they'll be like, yeah, we always knew that. I could be totally wrong about that. As far as this current with the balloons or objects, whatever they were, I have not had one friend or family ask me about this. I'm really surprised. I brought it up in a Super Bowl chat text, and none of my friends even wanted to talk about it, which is kind of surprising because they're kind of open. So I don't know what's going on with that for me.
Yeah, well, I think like I'll tell you, I'm Catholic, and for me, you know, some people are like, oh, well, it'll tear down religions or whatever. The way I look at it is, I was like, well, my personal belief is like, okay, if it was revealed tomorrow that there's, you know, these alien civilizations and there's thousands of them across the universe and stuff, to me, my only thought would be like, okay, well, I've known about these cogs over here and this beautiful machine that's created, and now I'm just getting revealed more of this machine that's out there, this beautiful big clock that's been built. And so to me, even then, it doesn't really challenge my faith at all or anything. If anything, it might deepen my understanding of my faith ultimately, if we're able to, you know, communicate with these, you know, beings. Because maybe they have more of the story to reveal or something, you know. So I think in a lot of ways, I don't know. I think people will be okay with it better than, you know, the 1950s style War of the Worlds hysteria.
We'll see. And on the other side, my sister, who was very, very religious, said it's the last visit I had with her. She's like, I think it's demons, and nothing you can say is going to change my mind. I'm like, okay. Anyway, yeah, but she'll still talk about it with me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let you go because I'm going to go through
Thanks,
these
bud.
questions one by one. Josh,
Yeah.
thanks for jumping on.
Good
I
chatting.
appreciate it a lot. Thank you. All right, let's go through your comments because I know there's a lot of them. And I need to do a show on just the Wilson Davis aspect of Jacques Vallée's new book. I would have liked to have seen a more sophisticated takedown approach, to be honest, instead of just shooting at it. Yeah, it would have been nice. You would think 2023 we could do something besides shooting missiles at it, but I guess they couldn't think of anything else. And they were worried, you know, commercial airliner might collide with it, so they used the missile. But yeah, there's got to be amazing footage of all three takedowns of those objects. The one with the Chinese balloon, that was great footage off the East Coast. Wouldn't these corporations or research agencies have come forward if these balloons belong to them? You would think so, but I mean, you would think, you know what, you just shot down my $1 million prototype, but I don't know. I mean, maybe privately that's going on. I don't know. But yeah, it's a really good point, and other people have brought that up. Biological threats. I don't know if that's connected to an earlier comment. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, I remember people made a joke about the Chinese balloon when it was shot. You know, it looked like there was powder coming out of it, and I made a joke. I'm like, because somebody else made a joke, I stole it. I'm like, oh, there goes another round of COVID they're letting loose on us. But I don't think it was a PR stunt. I just don't think they're organized enough to pull off that. No way they're alien. The stuff that came down, I don't think is alien. But like Jeff said and other people said, what would an alien craft or, you know, probe do? You know, maybe not all of them are traveling at high speeds. Who knows? But I always assume prosaic unless there's information or evidence that shows otherwise. Vallee said he saw a paper saying the military did abductions in South America. Yeah, and he won't put it out because he doesn't want to see infighting in the UFO community about that. And I'm like, just put it out. I want to see what his paper says. I mean, he has never said that he thinks all abductions are carried out by humans. He thinks we're dealing with something non-human. He talks about a control system. So, but if some of them used UFOs and abductions for their own purposes, that wouldn't be shocking. I want to see the paper that he spoke about. And thanks again, Alien Girl, for jumping on. I appreciate that. Yeah, my labs allegedly is a way to study experiencers. You know, they want to know what's going on. They want to know what they know, supposedly, allegedly. And I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I never sensed that Melinda Leslie, who was my main MyLab person I never sensed she was lying. So there's a possibility also that whatever we're dealing with can make, you know, affect our perceptions. So we think we're being abducted by aliens and humans. Who knows if that's really taking place? I don't know if abductions are physical. I know people have they have marks, they have bruises. So that is physical, but are they actually being taken? I don't know. I mean, when I watched the Berkshires episode on Unsolved Mysteries, it surely looks like that's a physical thing going from town to town, taking people. But we don't have the proof. But I think something happened to those folks. I don't think they're making it up. I don't think they're delusional. I mean, obviously, every situation you have a percentage of people who are lying or making stuff up or not well. They're not well mentally. But the majority of experiences I've encountered, I believe they really had something happen to them. We just don't know what it is. I keep trying to list pros and cons for either something exotic or prosaic. Still can't decide which is true, but leaning towards prosaic. Yeah. And I've also been confused this past week because I hear so many mixed messages going on, and that, you know, the Pentagon says one thing, and then the president, the White House says something completely different. It's like, get your act together, get your messaging correct at the very least, because if I'm confused, I know the general public is confused too. Not that I'm that smart, I just that I follow this closely enough that I would think I had some sort of grasp of what's going on. I was even wondering, I'm like, Lou and Chris Mellon were celebrating. I'm like, but everybody's focusing on foreign adversarial, so I'm not sure what you're celebrating. But then Mellon put out his article yesterday. If you haven't read it, ChristopherMellon.net, I think is his website, talking, you know, he's mentioned aliens and ETs, how that's a possibility. And it was nice to see, because I was tired of just hearing adversarial. Much love from Ohio. Hope you're doing well. Can't believe how Biden is handling this. Well, I don't think any other president would have done it much differently. Except I think they would have come out sooner and spoken a little more eloquently. He's not the best public speaker, we know that. But, and I know people, I'm not going politics. I will criticize Biden. I have criticized Biden, but I voted for the guy. You know, that doesn't mean I'm going to be nice to him. I don't do that. I mean, just like when TTSA came out, I invested in TTSA, but I ripped into TTSA plenty because I can't shut my mouth. Yeah, I don't know if this is huge, Gabby. It's a huge week and a half, 2 weeks, but today wasn't huge. But the fact that they're talking about it is huge for me, because regular people who don't normally talk about this or tweet about this or write about this are doing that. I mean, I saw sports websites on Twitter tweeting about this. The only thing that leans exotic is the pilot seeing two different things of the same object. Yeah, if like the objects that were on the East Coast in 2000, I think that was 2019, then pictures that George Knapp released, supposedly those objects were changing what they look like. You know, those 3 pictures were taking during the same flight. So that would say something exotic, or suggest that. Watching any United States president do an address like this, specifically about UFOs, even if they're balloons, feels highly surreal, specifically watching from the outside, especially watching from the outside. I agree. You know, that, you know, I'm a little spoiled over the past 5 years with what's been going on. So if this had happened, you know, in 2017, we would all be going crazy. We would all be going crazy. I'm just a little more reserved about what I get excited about, basically. Did you manage to catch? I have not caught Jay's interview with Oak Shannon. Apparently, he's been contacted by members of Congress as they're trying to set the record straight. That's good. I mean, his work with the John Alexander Working Group, that's important. His work with Wilson Davis, I mean, yeah, he's part of the story. He's not the most important part of the story. For people who don't know, Jacques Vallée basically put out in his diaries and his new book, Forbidden Science, Volume 5, talking about how he learned, I think it was 2003, he first learned that Eric Davis interviewed Admiral Wilson. If anybody is still doubting that Eric interviewed Admiral Wilson, you'll never get it. You'll never get it. It happened. The question is there really a crash retrieval program? So that's the question. Was the Admiral lied to? Did the Admiral lie to Eric? I don't think he lied to Eric. Could the Admiral have been lied to by the people he, you know, encountered at the program when he found it, the alleged crash retrieval program? Yeah, that's possible, but he's not the only source. You know, there are other sources saying the same information, but once again, we don't know. We don't know for sure. But the Vallée book was nice, and I'll just pull out the Wilson Davis stuff and do a stream on that. What a load of bollocks it was. I mean, I had zero expectations. So, you know, I wasn't disappointed because I didn't expect anything. The Alaska crash is on a very open terrain, but allegedly, supposedly they can't access it easily. I mean, you would think they know exactly, latitude and longitude where it was shot down, and it would pretty much go straight down. Supposedly one of the craft early on, it was a CNN reporter saying, I forget her last name, Natasha. She said it crashed, or maybe it wasn't her, but somebody said it crashed into 1,000 pieces or hundreds of pieces when it landed. So maybe it was metallic. She also said that she heard from a source that the pilots were saying that their sensors were being affected. So something inside the craft may be affecting sensors, which sounds like a UFO case, like the 76 Tehran, Iran case, where they would get close to the craft and all their, they weren't able to launch any missiles. Everything locked on their controls, suggesting the UFO was affecting their planes on purpose, or something related to the propulsion was affecting them as they got closer. But I'm not saying this is like the Tehran case. It just made me think of the Iranian case. She also said they couldn't figure out the propulsion, which may be something we just don't understand. It's on the inside. It may not be exotic. It may be advanced. Who knows? You don't know. So it's over snow, unmissable. So you would think they'd be able to find it, but I'm not going to assume that they're lying to us on that. I don't know. Yeah, I would hope eventually they're going to find it, and maybe we'll learn what it was. The potentially ubiquitous presence of UAP from the Sean Kirkpatrick presentation is something I'm trying to wrap my head around. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there, Caroline's Roadhouse, but Kirkpatrick, I've heard only positive things about him, but I don't know. Like I said, from my information, we have found the programs we wanted to find. We just have not gotten access. I don't know if that's accurate, but I've heard it from a couple of people, and I've heard Kirkpatrick is doing what he's supposed to be doing as required in the NDAA. So he's doing his job. As far as how to get access, I don't know how they're going to do that, or if they already have. My information says they haven't. I could be wrong. The people telling me that information could be misinforming me. They could be uninformed themselves, which I don't think is the case. So heads are rolling behind the scenes for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's getting chastised for the past week and a half, but I know Congress is not happy, certain members of Congress. So yeah, it does make sense, a commercial object, although I didn't think of that off the bat. Who is Axelrod? Go Kick Rocks. Jessica brought that up. She was one of the first, if not the only people that I encounter on Twitter who brought that up. Let's see. It's so difficult onboarding new folks into the topic because there's so much requisite knowledge needed to be able to develop a discerning eye for what's BS and what's worth paying attention to. And there's also stuff that you would think it's obvious BS. I mean, I'm careful. I usually err on the side of caution, so I'll miss something that might be legit when it's not. I'm usually on that side. And then people are like, what are you talking about? You talk about reincarnation and the soul trap and, a simulation. Yeah, but I talk about that because it's really interesting to me and it resonates with me. And I don't know if it's true, but as far as like cases and, people making claims, personal claims, I'm really conservative. So it's tough. And I've been doing it since 96. I think I'm okay at it, but I know I miss stuff and I get things wrong. Isn't James Fox's movie basically primers? James Fox's movies are perfect. I know what I saw. Phenomenon. If there are any new people on here, look up James Fox. Watch his UFO documentaries. They're great for that. The new series, Leslie Kane, is a consulting producer on the UFO docuseries on National Geographic, which was supposed to be on CNN Plus, which sucks. CNN Plus went under. It's really good. It looks amazing, and it's great for newbies. It's really good, especially for modern day, what happened since 2017. Seeing Helene Cooper, who's a New York Times reporter, talk about how they were so stressed out that Politico was going to beat them to the punch. It was really cool to see because we had never heard from her like that. And she was like telling the person, just publish the story. They're going to beat us to the punch and we're going to be screwed. But they beat them. I think Politico put it out later that day. Joe Biden looked like a corpse this afternoon. He has never been sharp, but today he looked ready for the big dirt nap. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. But it was, yes, Biden already did the press conference. When this is done, you can go on YouTube and watch it. This is really not exciting. Yep, you may be in the Twilight Zone, Dawn. Hi, Heidi. How are you? How far am I behind? I'm like 12 minutes behind. Thanks, Mike. It's been a while. My goal, this is my goal. My goal is to do as many days as I can a Twitter summary because nobody's doing that. And I think my Twitter is decent. And there are other people on Twitter that are kicking my ass as far as putting out interesting videos. There's like 3 or 4 people that are just nonstop putting out great stuff. And I'll share their stuff. And because I can't get to everything, but these guys do get to everything, it seems. So I want to do that at least a couple of times a week, as much as I can, even if it's for an hour. Side question: is Leslie Kane's doc Surviving Death worth a watch? Yeah, I need to watch it again. There was something, and it's been a while, that I don't remember ever encountering before. It was some sort of alleged evidence for life after death. It's worth watching. I didn't like the medium they had on there, one of the mediums, but overall it's good. Somebody actually mentioned it to me the other day. They're like, you should watch this. I'm like, I did. It's the one topic that, and I don't think she covers it in that. I could be wrong, but the one subject I love to talk about is physical mediumship, where they actually have physical stuff going on in the seance room. And Leslie, one of the things, they supposedly can manifest the actual person who they're communicating with. You read more about it in the 1800s, although there are mediums now, manifestation mediums, who allegedly can do that. And Leslie says she saw a human hand form right in front of her face. And this is supposedly the human hand of the person who's communicating through the medium. I don't doubt that that's what she saw. I just don't know. I don't know if I believe it's a person. And if you followed my tweets in the past month or so on a book called Siren Call of Hungry Ghosts, I do believe what channelers are engaging with, if they're spirits, they're liars, basically. They're telling people that they're so-and-so and they have a connection to us in a past life, and it turns out the information is total crap. One investigative reporter looked into it and just tried to verify it, and a couple of pieces were verifiable, and once he started digging, it was all garbage. Joe Fisher is the book, Siren Call of Hungry Ghosts. It was really good read. I kind of knew where it was going. I had an idea. Dean Johnson, who does a lot of work with the NDAA, Douglas Dean Johnson, he's the one that turned me on to that book. We have no evidence except for the balloon. We're being lied to about the other 3. People think that they didn't shoot down anything with the other 3. I don't think that. I think they shot something down, and it's most likely prosaic. Have you checked out the research being done by, I don't know that name, Daryl John Comp at the Pink Smoke on YouTube? No, if not, you should start with the oldest videos where he finds these things in historical pics. All right, Julie, I will look at that. I will try to look at that. I'll make sure I write it down afterwards. I'll actually take a picture so I can not have to scroll through this chat later on. Thanks for telling me about that. Implants, nothing. I haven't heard anything on implants. I know people are like, everything is just prosaic when they do studies on them, nothing exotic. I know people who claim they have implants, and Whitley Strieber had one of his implants taken out live on camera, and supposedly, or they tried to take it out, and then supposedly the implant moved away from the doctor with his scalpel, whatever he was using to try to get it out, and they just left it in there. Yeah, supposedly there's problems with, I tweeted it out, Tiny Claus put it out earlier. There was an article that talked about, I think it was The Drive. They talked about how Arrow, somehow their budget got messed up. So they're trying to fix that. It's like, how does that happen? You're not paying attention, or the people involved telling you, yeah, we have no budget. Can you share anything about Eric Davis' opinion if you have spoken to him recently on recent news? No, I haven't spoken to anybody on the balloon / objects / whatever news. If something is really interesting, I'll usually hear from somebody. I have not heard. And I will ask around to various, I have a decent amount of people I can ask now. I won't, unless they tell me I can give you their names, I won't tell you their names. So I'll ask everybody and I'll try to get information out. I think it's going to be basically what Biden said, but a little more, talking about this is a good thing, getting people to start looking at, the craft that do not conform to what we would expect from a mainstream, it's not the right word, from a physics standpoint that we are used to. Maybe these craft, like you see in an ODNI report where they're making maneuvers that we don't understand. I think that's what I'll hear from these folks, but I don't think I'm going to get anything more. Like Knapp talked about speaking with his source, and they said they could not add anything to what's going on in the media related to these objects being brought down. And Knapp has sources up the what. So, but I'll ask. I'll see if you see, a lot of times I will tweet. Sorry, I will tweet stuff that I've heard, but I won't say that I heard it. I'll just put it out there because I'm not always sure I can share information, because my sources, the people I speak with, they're not always clear on what I can and can't share, which is a problem. But I haven't gotten yelled at yet, so I guess I'm doing okay the way I've been doing it. I'm careful about how I say it and how I present it. Have I seen the YouTube filmed on the coast by a worker of the retrieval operation? Weather looks calm and clear. I have not. I might have seen something yesterday. I don't know. It's like, if it really was something exotic, they probably wouldn't tell us. And if it was something non-human, they're not going to tell us. I mean, George Knapp has spoken about that. The stuff we care about, they're not going to just tell us about if that stuff is going on. If we really do have crashes of non-human craft. And people are like, well, if it's a non-human craft and it's advanced, it's not going to crash. Well, we can get into the idea of crashing on purpose, using AI beings, their artificial intelligence. They're trying to send us a message. Who the heck knows? All possibilities on the table. But yeah, you're talking about Alaska. I see that. The guy filmed activity off the coast at first. Sorry, guy filmed military activity off the Alaskan coast at first, but they went away after a few days. So they found what they were looking for. They're no longer searching Alaska. Okay, well, maybe they got what they wanted and they're not going to tell us. So I do know my camera is frozen. Like I said earlier, as long as you can hear me and I did not get a frozen funny face, I'm good. I don't get until now how the UAPs get shot down, because a lot of cases, the UAPs, the speed of things is insane. I kind of just addressed this. Who knows? Maybe we have something EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon we have. Lou has referred to this in a couple of interviews, but he wouldn't get into details. And just because they could allegedly shut down our nuclear missile sites doesn't mean they can't be shot down, or they're being allowed to be shot down because of whatever reason. We can speculate all day long on why that would be. You could talk about how they want to help humanity with technology, or you could speculate that they want to get technology in our hands so we annihilate each other and they can have the planet to themselves. Total speculation. I have no idea. Like you said, maybe they are a probe or gift. Yeah, that's possible. I'll just say people who tell you they know that for sure, I can't listen to that. I mean, nobody knows. I don't think anybody knows. And if they are, they're in programs that have not been revealed yet. And they have data we have not seen yet. You did miss the Biden thing. It was a non-event for a non-U.S. person or a U.S. person. No, it was not fun. It's boring. Very boring. Even worse than most people on the conservative side expected. Physical mediums are fascinating. I did an episode about it. Thanks for sharing Chains of the Sea. You're welcome. Physical mediums, it's controversial, because supposedly the best one can bring your loved one into the room. You can see them and touch them. crazy. I know, but when you have somebody like Leslie Kane saying she saw this human hand form right in front of her face. It's only a couple of feet away. So if that's true, then a whole body I would think be possible. What that body and who that belongs to, that's the question I have. Thanks, Lord Ludacris. It's been a while. I need to start doing this. Top 5 drummers of all time. I was taken to see the Who, The Kids Are All Right in a midnight show. My sister's boyfriend, Keith Moon, Neil Peart, John Bonham. Who's the drummer for Slayer? I forget his name. Buddy Rich. I got to see Buddy Rich live. My dad took me to see him in Long Island at this dinner place. It was amazing. He's definitely, and the guy I took lessons with, he was a Buddy Rich protege. Guy was amazing. He's dead now, though. Died young. I forget what he died of, but watch the presser. President acted on NORAD's recommendation to shoot down because of threat of surveillance to sensitive installations, plus safety of commercial flight. I don't know if he mentioned that. Intelligence community telling the president it is the current assessment that all are balloons. Yeah, it depends on who you listen to. They may all be balloons. Maybe not balloons how we understand them. I mean, you hear the pilots talking, thinking they were balloons, and if they were balloons, that's fine. As long as it gets people talking about the other stuff, I'm fine with that. I mean, whatever they are, they are. I mean, I'm not gonna push the issue and try to make them something they're not, something exotic. Dave Grohl is not on my list. I love Dave Grohl, but as far as people I was influenced with, Dave Lombardo, that's it, the Slayer drummer. I saw them live once or twice. People that say advanced alien craft shouldn't be able to crash or using human logic. If they are truly advanced, they likely don't care if they lose a simple drone and expendable to them. Yeah, especially if it's unmanned. Or if they have artificial intelligence beings they don't really care about. Gary Nolan has talked about that. I think Jacques Vallée has spoken about it, like a throwaway craft or a throwaway body that's really not, if it's artificial intelligence, they don't consider it an actual being. So yeah, it's a good point. I don't know if we're ever going to get DOD saying those words. We have evidence or we have proof that non-humans are here. I don't know if I'm going to see that in my lifetime. This whole week has been exciting, and you're seeing interviews with people in Congress and other folks, hinting at more to come, but I don't know if it's going to happen. So anyway, all right. I might go live again later. I don't know if I will. I mean, it's better at night. I know people aren't working. I talked with Danny Silva. We talked about doing something together. We'll see. I'll be more prepared, and hopefully I won't be frozen the entire time, but at least you can hear me. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for Alien Girl and for Josh for jumping on. I appreciate it, and thanks for asking questions. Hopefully I sounded okay. You were able to understand me, and I'm good. I'll do my best to do more of these, and I definitely want to get into some of the Jacques Vallée Forbidden Science information on Wilson Davis, which was great to see. Finally, we got to see Vallée go into detail about that. He had spoken about it with James Iandoli, but he didn't really get into details. I guess he was saving it for the book. All right. I watched the first episode. Thanks, Gabby. It was good, great for newbies, new to the 2017 efforts. I haven't seen the second episode yet. Thanks, Atmo and Paranormal Blitz and Code. Thank you guys for watching. I'm amazed I was able to. I'm frozen, but at least I got it up because it was like I had 15 minutes till once I found out Biden was going live, and I'm glad you guys could be here and ask questions. I'll be back again soon, and I'll see you on Twitter. And thank you everybody who still supports me on Patreon and everywhere else. I appreciate that very much. Oh, really? I have it on my cable to watch. I need to see that. And Eric Davis did a MUFON lecture, so I need to watch that. My time with Eric Davis and Jay Stratton was great. I spent 4 hours with Eric Davis over 2 days, and then a couple hours with Jay Stratton at lunch with his wife, talking about basically skinwalkers at the Pentagon, what happened to them, mostly to his wife and kids. And it was was great to hear from them, and people claiming they're making it up. It's like, or they're delusional, or they're imagining it. I really don't have time for those people. I'm like, I don't know what they experienced, but I think it's, they saw what they said they saw. I don't know what it was. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thank you again for the condolences, everybody. I will check out the second episode. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks again.